In the vast expanse of the universe, humanity has always been fascinated by the possibility of extraterrestrial life. The search for life beyond our planet has led scientists and researchers to explore the depths of space in search of answers. One of the most intriguing phenomena that has captured the imagination of people around the world is the unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. For decades, UFO sightings have been reported by individuals from all walks of life. From pilots to farmers, these mysterious objects have been spotted in the skies, leaving many to wonder about their origins and purpose. Are they advanced spacecraft from other planets, or simply natural phenomena that we have yet to fully understand? In an effort to unravel the mystery of UFOs and their potential connection to extraterrestrial life, scientists have embarked on a journey to study these objects in greater detail. The Science of UFOs is a groundbreaking documentary that delves into the world of UFO research, exploring the latest advancements in technology and scientific knowledge that are helping to shed light on this enigmatic phenomenon. The first part of the documentary, titled The Search for Life, focuses on the quest to find evidence of life beyond Earth. Scientists have long speculated about the possibility of habitable planets in other star systems, known as exoplanets. With the discovery of thousands of exoplanets in recent years, the search for extraterrestrial life has taken on a new sense of urgency. One of the most promising methods for detecting signs of life on other planets is through the study of biosignatures. These are chemical or physical markers that indicate the presence of life, such as the presence of water, organic molecules, or even the byproducts of biological processes. By analyzing the atmospheres of exoplanets for these telltale signs, scientists hope to find evidence of alien life forms. In addition to searching for life on other planets, scientists are also exploring the possibility of life within our own solar system. Moons such as Europa, Enceladus, and Titan have long been considered potential candidates for harboring life due to their subsurface oceans and unique geology. Missions such as NASA's Europa Clipper and the upcoming Dragonfly mission to Titan are poised to explore these worlds in greater detail in search of signs of life. But what about the possibility of extraterrestrial life visiting Earth in the form of UFOs? While many sightings can be attributed to natural phenomena or human-made objects, there are a small percentage of cases that defy explanation. These so-called unidentified aerial phenomena have been documented by military personnel, radar operators, and even astronauts, leading to speculation about their true nature. In recent years, the U.S. government has taken a more serious approach to investigating UFO sightings, with the establishment of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force and the release of declassified videos showing encounters with unknown objects. While these sightings do not necessarily prove the existence of extraterrestrial life, they do raise important questions about the nature of these objects and the need for further research. As the search for life beyond Earth continues, scientists are using cutting-edge technology and innovative research methods to push the boundaries of our understanding. From the study of exoplanets to the investigation of UFO sightings, the quest for extraterrestrial life is a journey that captivates the imagination and challenges our perceptions of the universe. The Science of UFOs, The Search for Life, is a thought-provoking exploration of the mysteries of the cosmos, inviting viewers to ponder the possibility of life beyond our planet and the implications for humanity. As we continue to unravel the secrets of the universe, one thing is certain: the search for extraterrestrial life is a journey that will forever change our understanding of the cosmos.
Okay, so have we ever been visited before on Earth by extraterrestrials?
You know, there are a lot of people who think that we're being visited now by extraterrestrials. I don't agree with that. But there is the question, maybe we've been visited before. And you can't rule that out. I mean, you can't say categorically, no, aliens did not come to Earth 100 million years ago and take photos of the dinosaurs, maybe a few as pets, and then leave. I mean, we would never know. So you really can't tell whether we've been visited before, except to say that there's no good evidence of it.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, and where in the universe is life likely to be?
When we ask ourselves, where should we be looking for extraterrestrial life, right? We always do the same thing. We say, well, where could terrestrial life actually be able to not just flourish once established, but to be established, to get started? And so we're looking for planets with conditions that are somewhat similar to the conditions here on Earth. And the first one, and the most famous one to be considered, was, of course, Mars. Because of all the other worlds in the solar system, Mars is the one that most closely resembles Earth, although not terribly closely. But, we look out into the galaxy, and there are about 1 trillion, that's with a T, planets in the galaxy. We don't see them all, but that's a rough estimate. And most of them are not very much like Earth, but some are, just by chance. It's like buying 1 trillion lottery tickets. Some will be winners. And so, that might be where the aliens are hanging out. The only thing is, we don't know which planets those are, where they are, what star systems they're orbiting, or which star systems they're in. And that's just you can write that down to the fact that it's very difficult to find faraway planets. Planets are small, they're dim. It's very hard to find them.
Okay. And what is SETI's role?
Now, SETI tries to sort of short circuit the whole question of is there life elsewhere in the universe by finding not just life, but finding intelligent life. The advantage of looking for intelligent life is that they might have some technology. Maybe they're broadcasting, navigational beacons into the galaxy for the benefit of their spacecraft or who knows what. But they might be able to make themselves known. And that's not true if there are, for example, extragalactic lizards on some planet, as you often see in the sci-fi films. They might be living their lizard lives, but you would never know it because they're not producing any evidence that you could measure here on Earth. So in that sense, SETI, yes, is looking for the most sophisticated kinds of life, intelligent life. But on the other hand, that's the kind of life that might make its presence known.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you. And what would you, if we had first contact now with ET, what would the impact be on society?
If we were to find ET, via picking up a radio transmission or, that kind of thing, where we find them at a distance, that's just a big story. I mean, that's a big news story, and you can be sure the newspapers and all the other media will be filled with it for quite a while. Scientists will be extraordinarily interested and immediately start turning every telescope they have in the direction of where this world is. But, it's very likely that they're going to be far away, maybe 100 light years, maybe 1,000 light years. So you're not going to invite them over for lunch. On the other hand, if you say, well, look, what if the aliens came to Earth? That's a completely different story. It's a completely different scenario. And it's even potentially dangerous. Often in the movies, it's dangerous. And that's because anybody that could actually come here, whatever they want to do, they can do it because they're so much more advanced than we are technically. It's a bit like the Native Americans sitting around a campfire in 1490, say, and they're thinking, there might be other societies on the other side of all that water down there. What if they came here, And they said, well, we better organize and defend ourselves in case they're aggressive. It really didn't matter what they did. That other society was much more advanced than theirs by centuries, really. And consequently, they were able to do whatever they wanted to do, good or bad.
And how would it impact the world's religions and faiths?
Science has always been at the forefront of trying to explain the unexplainable. When it comes to UFOs, the scientific community has been both intrigued and skeptical. The idea of unidentified flying objects from other worlds has captured the imagination of many. But scientists are quick to point out that without concrete evidence, it is difficult to draw any definitive conclusions. One of the main challenges in studying UFOs is the lack of physical evidence. While there have been countless reports of sightings and encounters, very few have been backed up by tangible proof. Without physical evidence, scientists are left with eyewitness accounts and blurry photographs, which are often dismissed as unreliable. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, some scientists have attempted to study UFOs using the tools of their trade. By analyzing radar data, studying the physics of flight, and examining the psychology of eyewitness testimony, scientists have tried to shed light on the mystery of UFOs. However, the results have been inconclusive, with many questions remaining unanswered. One of the biggest challenges in studying UFOs is the stigma attached to the topic. For many scientists, the idea of UFOs is synonymous with pseudoscience and conspiracy theories. As a result, many researchers are hesitant to study UFOs for fear of damaging their reputation. This stigma has made it difficult for serious scientific inquiry into the phenomenon. Despite these challenges, there are some scientists who believe that UFOs deserve further study. By approaching the topic with an open mind and a critical eye, these researchers hope to uncover the truth behind the phenomenon. Whether or not science will ever be able to definitively explain UFOs remains to be seen. Looking to the future, the study of UFOs is likely to continue to be a topic of interest for scientists and researchers. With advances in technology and new tools for observation, scientists may be able to gather more data on UFO sightings and encounters. By combining traditional scientific methods with cutting-edge technology, researchers may be able to finally unravel the mystery of UFOs. In the meantime, the debate over UFOs will continue to rage on. While some will dismiss the phenomenon as a figment of the imagination, others will continue to believe in the possibility of extraterrestrial visitors. As long as there are unanswered questions and unexplained sightings, the study of UFOs will remain a topic of fascination for scientists and the public alike. In conclusion, the science of UFOs is a complex and controversial topic. While scientists have made some progress in studying the phenomenon, many questions remain unanswered. With advances in technology and a willingness to approach the topic with an open mind, scientists may be able to finally unlock the secrets of UFOs. Until then, the mystery of unidentified flying objects will continue to captivate the imagination of many.
Exciting to hear. And I've just got an interesting question, because I'm a scientist. I only have a Bachelor of Science from university, not like yourself. But I'm just wondering about physics and whether there is a room for another model of physics which takes into consideration possible other dimensions of reality, and how would that fit in with the search for life elsewhere?
So in fact, within the mainstream of theoretical physics for the past several decades, the prevailing paradigm is that it is impossible to unify quantum mechanics and gravity unless you work with extra-spatial dimensions. And of course, we see only 3 of them in our daily life, but the idea is that the others are curled and we can't really detect them unless we shoot particles at exceptionally high energies that would probe these tiny scales. And so that has been the foundation for string theory, which has mathematical accomplishments, but yet is not ready to make predictions about the beginning of the universe, what happened before the Big Bang, and what happens inside the black hole. Of course, if there are extra dimensions, then the reality that we are familiar with extends into them. And one can imagine life in more than 3 spatial dimensions. It will be far more diverse and interesting in the sense that when you drive a highway in extra dimensions, the chance of a collision is much smaller. And there are many more opportunities for degrees of freedom of exercising your free will, if we have it. Altogether, I would expect life to be much richer.
Wow. Okay. And do you think possibly what we're seeing in terms of UFOs and things like that, UAPs, could that be kind of dimensions crossing over into our reality somehow?
We had our science and technology for 1 century. Quantum mechanics was discovered exactly a century ago, and all the most sophisticated technologies we currently employ, such as the internet, artificial intelligence, and so forth, rely on our understanding of quantum mechanics. So one can imagine that the process of learning is incomplete In fact, there are several major puzzles in modern physics. What is most of the matter in the universe? We call it dark matter. We don't know what it is. What happens inside a black hole near the singularity? We don't know what happens. What happened before the Big Bang? These are some of the examples, but also we don't know whether we are alone or whether there are other technological civilizations. But one thing is clear, that most stars formed billions of years before the sun. So if another civilization like ours existed billions of years ago, they had much more time to develop their science and technology. And it is possible that they would be able to figure out if there are extra spatial dimensions and take advantage of them using quantum gravity engineers. And what that means is that, if their technology is able to reach our doorstep, we would be at awe, because it would represent something we don't possess, we don't understand. Just like a cave dweller coming to a city like London or New York and seeing all the technological gadgets there, there would be a sense of religious awe, and we wouldn't fully understand what we are looking at, especially if one is dealing with the effects of quantum gravity that we have no clue about. So definitely, yes, one way for us to realize that we are not the smartest kid in the class is by encountering those technological gadgets that were produced by more advanced civilizations, and they may very well represent effects of quantum gravity, extra dimensions, things that we currently do not fully understand.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Thank you for that answer. Because the other thing that interests me is the weirdness of quantum physics, especially when you look at the double slit experiment and the observer effect. I don't know how to explain that, and we still don't know how to explain that. I wondered if we're ever going to get there and work it out.
It is clear that something is missing from quantum mechanics, because since the day it was conceived, we didn't have an intuitive understanding of what it means, how a wave function collapses, whether there are many realities at once, and somehow we managed by doing an experiment to go into one of them. It's quite possible that our lack of understanding of quantum mechanics at a deep level is because it doesn't incorporate gravity. And once gravity and quantum mechanics would be unified in a predictive theory, it will give answers to those questions as to what reality truly is. We know that quantum mechanics is more fundamental than classical physics, because classical physics is one limit of quantum mechanics. But we are classical objects. We can't really understand what happens in quantum mechanics, but perhaps by adding quantum gravity to the mix, we should get at a more fundamental level where everything follows a set of rules that explains why reality is probabilistic in the case of quantum mechanics, in difference from classical physics.
Okay, thank you. And what do you think about the theory that some put forward, that life in the universe is just a big simulation kind of game?
I have a difficulty believing that we live in a simulation, because so far I haven't seen any evidence for pixelization of space. I haven't seen any bug in the computer program. To me, reality has a unique feature, which is all of us are witnessing it. Whereas if you put goggles on your head, you could live in a virtual reality in the metaverse, but others would not. And of course, it may be more satisfying to you, just like taking recreational drugs. So the way I think of it is, people who believe in the multiverse, that there are many realities at once, that everything that is possible happens an infinite number of times, they have no evidence for that to be the case. And it's somewhat irresponsible, because it doesn't make a prediction that could be ruled out. If everything is possible, then nothing is impossible, and therefore nothing is ruled out. And the way we learn, the way we gain scientific knowledge, is by chopping off the heads of wrong ideas using the guillotine of experiments. And if that is not available in the context of the multiverse, then it's not science the way I'm used to. And of course, it could be very satisfying, just like taking drugs can make you high and happier during that time. However, I'm much more interested in the reality that we all share, because if we understand it, we can adapt to it. An example for a virtual reality is that we live in the center of the universe. It ended up being wrong. And once we understand that, we can, for example, reach Mars. If we were to think that Mars orbits around the Earth, we would never reach it because we would send our rockets in the wrong direction. In the same way, if we understand what a virus is, we can try and cope with it using vaccines. If we understand that there are extra dimensions, we can take advantage of them. If we understand that we are not alone, we might want to protect our privacy, or we might want to visit cosmic neighbors to learn from them about our technological future. So knowing the reality always is advantageous, because even though it's not necessarily complementing our ego, it might bring us to a better future, because once we understand it, we can design our life such that it would accommodate reality and use it for our interests. And so the bottom line is, I would much rather study the reality that we all share, that we can test and make progress on. And of course, there is always metaphysics, ideas that we can never test. These existed throughout human history in the realm of philosophy, in the realm of religion, but that's not what I'm interested in.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for that great answer. And just finally, I've heard you speak out recently that you wish there were more scientists taking UAPs and possible alien life more seriously. So I praise you for your work, your scientific work that you're doing, and you're doing it in the right way, like you said. Do you think more mainstream scientists should come on board?
Yeah, I do believe that the search for alien civilizations should be in the mainstream of science. First, because it resonates with the public, and the public funds science. And we have the scientific tools to address this question. We can use our cameras, our telescopes, our microscopes, based on my latest expedition to the Pacific Ocean, to learn what's outside the solar system and to figure out whether we have a neighbor. The reason it's transformative for humanity is for the same reason that finding a partner changes your life. Suddenly you're not alone. Steven Weinberg, a Nobel laureate in physics, wrote towards the end of his book, The First 3 Minutes, the more we analyze the universe, the more pointless it looks. And to me, that's a sign of studying lifeless objects, objects like elementary particles, radiation, stars, black holes, and so forth. However, the minute we find a partner that is just like us, conscious and intelligent, it will change our perspective. Suddenly, the universe will not appear lonely anymore. And moreover, we can learn from our partner. We can grow in our perspective. As of now, we are investing $2 trillion a year on military budgets. If we were to realize that there is a third dimension out there, that there is much more real estate in space than there is on Earth, we might decide to explore space. And if we were to invest $2 trillion a year in space exploration, after listening to the words of John Lennon, imagine all the people living in peace, then I calculated we could reach all stars in the Milky Way galaxy by sending probes to them, billions of them, within a century. The probes will get there within 1 billion years, but we would at least approach those stars within just 1 century. And if there is a more intelligent civilization out there, my hope is that they did it already. And we can just look at our backyard to check if any of their probes reached us and learn from those.
Okay, that's a brilliant answer. I love that. John Lennon and Avi Loeb on Loeb TV.
Project Bluebeam is a top-secret military project that has been the subject of much speculation and controversy in recent years. Many believe that it is a government program designed to deceive the public through the use of advanced technology, while others see it a potential tool for communicating with extraterrestrial beings. The origins of Project Bluebeam can be traced back to the 1980s, when rumors began to circulate about a secret government program that was experimenting with holographic technology. According to some sources, the project was originally conceived as a means of creating realistic simulations of UFO sightings in order to study public reactions to such events. As the project evolved, however, it reportedly took on a more sinister purpose. Some conspiracy theorists claim that Project Bluebeam is part of a larger plan to create a false flag alien invasion in order to unite humanity under a single world government. According to this theory, the government would use holographic projections to create the illusion of an extraterrestrial invasion, thereby justifying the implementation of martial law and the suspension of civil liberties. Despite the lack of concrete evidence to support these claims, many continue to believe in the existence of Project Bluebeam and its potential implications for the future of humanity. Some have even gone so far as to suggest that recent UFO sightings are actually part of a larger government conspiracy to prepare the public for the eventual implementation of the project. But what is the science behind Project Bluebeam, and how does it relate to UFOs? While the exact details of the project remain shrouded in secrecy, it is widely believed that the technology being developed for Project Bluebeam is based on advanced holographic projection techniques. Holography is a technique that allows three-dimensional images to be created using laser light. By projecting these images onto a screen or into the air, it is possible to create realistic illusions that appear to be solid objects. This technology has been used in a variety of applications, from entertainment to medical imaging, and has the potential to revolutionize the way we interact with the world around us. In the context of Project Bluebeam, holographic technology could be used to create convincing simulations of UFO sightings, alien spacecraft, and other phenomena that would be indistinguishable from reality. By manipulating light and sound in precise ways, it would be possible to create the illusion of a full-scale alien invasion that would be virtually impossible to distinguish from the real thing. Of course, the success of such a project would depend on a number of factors, including the sophistication of the technology being used, the skill of the operators, and the willingness of the public to believe in the illusion being presented to them. While it is impossible to say for certain whether Project Bluebeam is a real program or simply a figment of the imagination, the potential implications of such a project are certainly worth considering. In conclusion, Project Bluebeam is a mysterious and controversial military project that has captured the imagination of conspiracy theorists and skeptics alike. While the true nature of the project remains unknown, its potential implications for the future of humanity are both fascinating and frightening. Whether or not Project Bluebeam is real, the science behind it is certainly intriguing, and the possibility of using holographic technology to create convincing illusions of UFOs and alien invasions is a concept that is both exciting and terrifying. Only time will tell what the future holds for Project Bluebeam and its potential impact on the world.
Brilliant. My second question really is something a bit out there, really. I've come across this thing called Project Bluebeam. Is this just an internet conspiracy myth, or is this some top secret military project? Do we know?
Well, Project Bluebeam has been around for many years in terms of rumors circulating on the internet, and you know, like all good conspiracy theories, it probably does have a few roots in reality, but probably not in the way that most people think. Simply put, Project Bluebeam is the idea that through a combination of maybe holographic projection technology, Hollywood special effects, and government or deep state spin and manipulation, you could create a false narrative And the two examples that have been given are you could create basically a false flag alien invasion or a false flag second coming. And what this would then do, it would, rather like some people say, well, 9/11 led to the introduction of the Patriot Act and big state, deep state coming in and maybe taking some rights and freedoms that we'd previously had and dressing this up in the flag and dressing it up as national interest and the need for unity and the very extreme circumstances which temporarily, of course, mitigate for the setting aside of normal checks and balances and processes. And so this is Project Bluebeam, the idea that you could fake an alien invasion, for example, and then use it to manipulate populations and the new world order takes over. I don't, frankly, believe it as told, but self-evidently all these things in their separate components do exist. There is holographic projection. We don't yet know how good it is because a lot of that's classified, but one hears rumors of the so-called ghost gun that can create very realistic portrayals of things. And of course, we all know spin exists in government. And of course, we've seen during COVID the way in which entire populations are manipulated, scared. I mean, fear is the key to a lot of this, of course. Entire populations who weren't really at any meaningful risk at all. It was only a very small group of people, of course, who were at risk of serious outcomes. The elderly, the immunocompromised, and the obese, and more often than not, people with all of those categories. And yet, we were sold this kind of dishonest, everyone's at risk narrative, and the world went mad for 2 or 3 years. The people screaming at each other for not wearing cloth masks that we now know from the science had a statistically insignificant health care benefit. People were, arrested on park benches and on open beaches when we know lockdowns didn't work and when we know that open transmission was never a thing. In outdoor terms, casual outside transmission, never a thing. So look, if they can do that with something like a pandemic, which was hardly unexpected, we've had pandemics before, we had contingency plans for them. How might it apply to the subject of UFOs and extraterrestrials and alien invasions? So we know that separately all those components exist, governments manipulating people through fear and through creating a false narrative. But whether the actual Project Bluebeam false flag alien invasion is real or not, I'm a little more skeptical. But if COVID taught us anything, it should be, listen to official narratives, but don't blindly follow them and sleepwalk yourself into total compliance when frankly the science was never really there in the way that we were being told it was. So and whatever you do, don't suppress dissenting voices, because in these polarized times where if you look, for example, at what's going on in academia with some of the non-scientific narratives that are creeping in terms of, frankly, just ideology, it's never been so important to allow dissent and allow genuine diversity of opinion, not a slavish adherence to the sort of diversity, equity, and inclusion industry, but genuine equality, genuine diversity. When people have different opinions, listen to those opinions. Don't listen to the identity politics of who's telling the story. Listen to the story that's been told and then fact check it. And I know that we've gone off topic, and yet, of course, we haven't.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, that's the thing for me. COVID was like, I've always been quite left-wing, liberal, and suddenly we had all these illiberal laws, lack of freedom of speech. Like you say, dissenting voices were shut down. I'm no anti-vaxxer by any way, but we should question things. We weren't questioning it. The government was getting us in a state of fear, and we were being able to be controlled. And I guess that's the point regarding false flag operations, Project Bluebeam, is that COVID has shown that populations can be put in that fear state very quickly.
They can. I mean, if one looks back at the history of COVID, and my goodness, we should learn lessons from it and not just move along and say, okay, that was then, this is now. No, there must be genuine accountability for people who either got it totally wrong, but particularly people who misrepresented the situation, knew we were, Partygate's a case in point. The real story shouldn't have been a few people breaking the rules. The real people should have been that the best briefed people in the country knew that they were at virtually zero risk of anything more than a cold. But instead of targeting our resources and assistance on those people genuinely at risk, we went mad and shut down the world and crashed the economy and set civil liberties back a generation.
Still paying for it now, unfortunately. Okay, thanks, Nick. Just another last question, really. Obviously, you're one of the world's leading UFO experts. Have you ever considered that what we're seeing in the skies, what these credible witnesses like the pilots are giving evidence to the US Congress, is not physical? Is that it possibly some sort of psychic or spiritual or something from another dimension? Have you ever considered those as possible theories?
Yes, certainly. One should never get wedded to a single point of view. And although the extraterrestrial hypothesis is the one that's most deeply embedded in people's consciousness when it comes to the non-conventional explanations for UFO/UAP, it's frankly, it's only one of a number of competing theories. Interdimensional, time travelers from the future, demonic. One of the most interesting things in the June 25th, 2021 preliminary assessment of UAP published by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence was the statement that there's likely not a single neat solution to this mystery. Chances are there are a number of different things going on in parallel, and that may well be the case. So as crazy as it might sound to some, for example, there is, and of course this is in your film, there is a faction within particularly the US government, but I've seen it in the UK as well, who believe that UFOs are demonic. And they get this in a large part from a passage in the Bible, in the book of Ephesians, which talks about Satan in terms of being, quote, the prince of the power of the air, unquote. And this faction, through that and maybe some other things too, have convinced themselves that this or some of this may be demonic. And therefore they say that you shouldn't engage with it. You shouldn't study it because that feeds it energy. And so it's an interesting irony that some of the pushback to serious research and investigation of this in the US and the UK government didn't come from hard-nosed, science-minded skeptics who thought it was all a waste of time and money. It came from a believer faction, but just a different believer faction, a faction that felt it was demonic and that we shouldn't study it for the reasons I've just explained. And I happen to think they're wrong, but there's no getting away their influence. Lou Elizondo, who headed up the Pentagon's ATIP program, which came before Arrow and before the UAP task force, he said on one occasion he was trying to get a senior manager in the Pentagon to take this more seriously. The guy sort of batted him away and said, go read your Bible. That's the mindset that you're coming up against, a sort of fundamentalist Christian interpretation of this.
The day the aliens arrived was like any other day. People went about their business, completely unaware of the monumental event that was about to unfold. It started with reports of strange lights in the sky, dismissed as nothing more than a meteor shower or a military exercise. But as the hours passed, it became clear that something extraordinary was happening. The first contact was made in a remote field in the countryside. A small spacecraft landed gracefully, its sleek design and advanced technology unlike anything the world had ever seen. As the doors opened, a group of beings emerged, their appearance both familiar and alien at the same time. They communicated with gestures and sounds that were incomprehensible to the humans gathered around them. The news spread like wildfire, causing a mixture of fear, excitement, and curiosity among the population. Governments scrambled to establish communication with the visitors, while scientists and experts debated the implications of this historic event. Religious leaders offered their interpretations, some seeing the aliens as a sign of divine intervention, while others viewed them with suspicion and fear. As the days turned into weeks, the aliens revealed more about themselves and their civilization. They spoke of their advanced technology, their peaceful intentions, and their desire to learn from humanity. They offered to share their knowledge and resources, promising to help solve some of the world's most pressing problems. But not everyone was convinced of their benevolence. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire, with some claiming that the aliens were here to conquer or enslave humanity. Others saw them as a threat to their way of life, fearing the unknown and the changes that might come with it. Despite the skepticism and fear, the majority of people welcomed the aliens with open arms. They saw them as a chance for humanity to transcend its limitations, to reach for the stars and explore the vastness of the universe. The aliens became celebrities, their every move and word scrutinized and analyzed by the media and the public. As the weeks turned into months, the aliens began to integrate themselves into human society. They shared their technology and knowledge, helping to solve some of the world's most pressing problems. They formed friendships and relationships with humans, bridging the gap between two vastly different civilizations. But not everything was smooth sailing. There were those who resented the aliens, seeing them as a threat to their way of life and their beliefs. There were protests and demonstrations, calls for the aliens to leave and return to their own world. Some even resorted to violence, lashing out against the visitors in a misguided attempt to protect themselves and their way of life. Despite the challenges and obstacles, the aliens remained steadfast in their mission. They continued to reach out to humanity, offering their friendship and their knowledge. They showed us a glimpse of the vastness of the universe, of the endless possibilities that lay beyond our own little corner of the cosmos. And as the years passed, humanity began to change. We became more united, more open-minded, more willing to embrace the unknown. The aliens became our friends, our allies, our partners in the quest for knowledge and understanding. And so, the first contact with aliens changed everything. It forced us to confront our place in the universe, to question our beliefs and our assumptions. It showed us that we are not alone, that there are other civilizations out there, waiting to be discovered and explored. And as we look up at the stars, we can't help but wonder what other wonders and mysteries lie beyond our own little world. The first contact with aliens was just the beginning of a new chapter in human history, a chapter filled with hope, wonder, and endless possibilities.
A lot of attention has been paid to the impact of the discovery of extraterrestrial intelligence on our religions, right? If we suddenly get evidence that shows that somebody's out there, and of course, if we can find them, they're more advanced than we are, you might sort of regress to the assumption that, well, that's interesting and probably destructive of our own religious beliefs, because if they're out there and they can make themselves known, technically they're more advanced than we are. And that usually means that our religions will seem very primitive to them. You had the exact same situation in the South Pacific in the 18th century when Captain Jim Cook and others started sailing around the South Pacific, and you would sail into the lagoon of some island, and the natives would think, well, we better switch our religion, because they were they were worshiping things like red feathers and stuff like that. But these guys, they had things like ships, they had cannon, they had metal, they had swords. Clearly, their mojo was better than your mojo. So whatever religion they had probably was also better than your religion. So we might experience the same sort of thing.
Well, thank you. And my final question is, when do you think we will get first contact?
So we haven't found the aliens so far, but when are we going to find them, if ever? And I somewhat infamously have a bet to anybody who's interested that we will find ET, evidence for ET, by 2035, or I will buy that person a cup of coffee. Now, this might be maybe a rash sort of thing to have done, because I may have to buy a lot of coffee. But on the other hand, I don't base that strictly on unfettered optimism. The reason I say that is that by 2035, our experiments to try and find evidence of aliens via radio transmissions or flashing lasers or whatever it is, will have surveyed maybe about 1 million star systems. And to me, if you look at 1 million star systems and there's anybody out there, you're going to find somebody. So I'm willing to back up that assumption, at least to the tune of a cup of Starbucks.
Okay, I look forward to my cup of coffee. Thank you.
Okay.
That's brilliant. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Much appreciated. Hey.
Artificial intelligence has become an invaluable tool in the search for extraterrestrial life. With the vastness of space and the limitations of human capabilities, AI has the potential to revolutionize the way we explore the cosmos. One of the ways in which AI can aid in the search for aliens is through the analysis of vast amounts of data collected from telescopes and other instruments. AI algorithms can sift through this data much more quickly and efficiently than humans, allowing researchers to identify patterns or anomalies that may indicate the presence of alien life. Furthermore, AI can help in the design and operation of robotic probes that may be sent out to explore distant planets or moons. These probes can be equipped with AI systems that allow them to make autonomous decisions based on the data they collect, increasing their chances of success in finding signs of alien life. AI can also assist in the communication with any potential alien civilizations that may be discovered. By using AI to decipher and translate alien languages or communication signals, researchers can better understand and interact with these extraterrestrial beings. In addition to using AI to search for aliens, there is also the possibility that alien civilizations may themselves send out AI probes instead of living beings. This idea is based on the concept of von Neumann probes, named after the Hungarian-American mathematician John von Neumann. These probes would be self-replicating machines that could explore the galaxy at a much faster pace than any biological beings. By sending out AI probes instead of living beings, alien civilizations could avoid the dangers of space travel, such as radiation exposure or the limitations of human lifespan. The idea of AI probes being sent out by alien civilizations raises many intriguing questions. What would these probes look like? How would they communicate with us? And most importantly, what would their intentions be? While it is impossible to know for sure, researchers have speculated that these AI probes may be programmed to seek out other intelligent life forms in the galaxy, much like our own efforts to find aliens. Alternatively, they may be designed to gather information about other planets and civilizations without any intention of making contact. Regardless of the motivations behind these AI probes, their existence would have profound implications for humanity. The discovery of an alien AI probe could provide us with valuable insights into the technology and capabilities of other civilizations, as well as the potential for communication and collaboration on a galactic scale. It could also raise questions about the nature of intelligence and consciousness and what it means to be truly alive. In conclusion, artificial intelligence has the potential to revolutionize the search for extraterrestrial life. By using AI to analyze data, design probes, and communicate with potential alien civilizations, researchers can greatly enhance our understanding of the cosmos and our place within it. Furthermore, the possibility of alien civilizations sending out AI probes opens up a whole new realm of possibilities for exploration and discovery. Whether we are the ones searching for aliens or being sought out by them, AI will undoubtedly play a crucial role in shaping the future of our interactions with other intelligent beings in the universe.
Yeah, in fact, my expectation from interstellar travel is that it's best done with electronic gadgets, devices, rather than with biological creatures, because the journey takes a long time. Even to the nearest star, it will take us 50,000 years to get there with chemical rockets. And artificial intelligence systems have that patience, and they can remain dormant for a while. We can harden them so that they survive the journey. And so, because it's very hazardous, there are cosmic rays, and there are no nutrients out there in space, and so I can imagine sending AI astronauts to those long journeys. And similarly, if there were other technological civilizations billions of years ago that predated us, they might have sent AI astronauts. Now, our AI astronauts may be less advanced than theirs, and if they visit us, of course, we can use our AI systems to interpret their AI systems, and they might feel kinship to them, and it will give a new twist on Alan Turing's imitation game, which was intended for AI systems here on Earth to imitate humans, because we are trying to make them in our image. But in the future, our AI systems might try to imitate extraterrestrial AI systems because they would be far more advanced. And perhaps once they reach similar levels, that will usher our way into the class of intelligent civilizations of the Milky Way galaxy. That's one way to get admitted.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, in your opinion, do you think we're being visited at the moment?
It's quite possible, because only over the past decade, we discovered the first 4 interstellar objects from outside the solar system. And 3 of them, the first 3, looked weird, unusual, unlike the familiar rocks that we found before in the solar system. It's sort of like going to your backyard and you're used to the rocks that are out there, but every now and then you see a tennis ball that may have been thrown by a neighbor. And the first 2, one discovered in January 2014 and the second in March 2017, were meteors, roughly a meter in size, and they happened to collide with Earth at a very high speed, from which I concluded, together with my student Amir Siraj, that they must have originated from outside the solar system, because they were not bound to the sun gravitationally. And indeed, the US government confirmed that. And from the data of the US government on these meteors, we could figure out that they were tougher than all the other space rocks ever detected from the solar system in the catalog that NASA compiled of 273 meteors. And therefore, it raises the interesting possibility that, well, maybe they were artificial in origin, maybe they were spacecraft. And the other possibility is that they were coming from some unusual source that is very different from the solar system. We're going on an expedition to the Pacific Ocean in a few months during the summer of 2023 to retrieve the fragments left over from the first interstellar meteor. And we will analyze the composition of anything we find at the site and try to figure out whether it's an artificial alloy of a spacecraft. So these were the first 2, and they were tougher than the meteors from the solar system. And the third one was much bigger. It was actually 200 times bigger, the size of a football field. And it was discovered from the reflection of sunlight. It didn't collide with the Earth, but it passed within a sixth of the Earth-Sun separation. Back in October 2017, a telescope in Hawaii discovered it. It was given the name Oumuamua, which means a scout in the Hawaiian language. It had a very extreme shape, most likely flat, and it was pushed away from the sun by some mysterious force because there was no cometary evaporation from it that was visible to the Spitzer Space Telescope. So I suggested that it was very thin and was pushed by reflecting sunlight. And actually, 3 years later, there was another object that was pushed by reflecting sunlight, no cometary tail. And that was September 2020. And it was realized soon afterwards that it's actually a rocket booster that NASA launched in 1966. It was given the name 2020 SO. And it was rediscovered by the same telescope in Hawaii. So clearly that one, 2020 SO, was artificial because we produced it. The question is, who produced Oumuamua? The fourth interstellar object appeared just like a regular comet. It was discovered by the amateur astronomer Gennady Borisov. So it's named Borisov. So out of the 4 objects from outside the solar system over the past decade, 3 are unusual. And to me, it's an indication that perhaps, at least one of those objects was artificial in origin, manufactured by an extraterrestrial civilization. And then on top of that, the US government talks about objects that are unidentified. They want to figure it out. They established a new office for anomaly resolution in multimedia, both in air and in water and perhaps in space. And so this office is trying to figure out what these unidentified objects might be. And I established the Galileo project about 1.5 years ago that will try to find more interstellar objects and the way astronomers find them. But at the same time, we have a new observatory that is monitoring the sky 24/7 in the infrared, optical, radio, and audio. And we analyze the data with artificial intelligence classification software that will tell us whether we are looking at natural objects like birds, bugs, and so forth, human-made objects like drones, balloons, airplanes, or something else.
Wow, that's fascinating. Thank you very much. My final question on the short segment is, if we did have first contact with extraterrestrials, how would that impact society, do you think?
Oh, that would be a huge impact. It really depends on what we find. So there is no point in establishing a committee that will decide about procedures, because I believe nature has a much wider scope of things to offer us than our imagination. So I think it would look nothing like imagined in Star Trek or in whatever script writers of science fiction thought about in the past. And I'm just curious, like a kid, to find out what it looks like. And then, of course, once we find something, the question is if it's functional. I mean, it could be space trash. It could be like Voyager would be in 1 billion years, not functional, because most stars formed billions of years before the sun. So the technological clock started much earlier for most civilizations. But in addition to space trash, there could be functional devices. And there we should figure out what they're seeking, what kind of information they want to get, or what is their motivation visiting us. And only then we can decide how to respond to it. And my overall view is that we can learn from a smarter kid in our cosmic block. And it's not really a threat the way Stephen Hawking, for example, talked about it. I don't think we are that significant in the cosmic scheme of things. And it would be to our benefit to look around and see what our neighborhood looks like.